Hello, Joel. How are you?
Great. How are you doing, Prakash?
Excellent, man. So, I guess we're going to talk about uh, how our world is changed around us, and specifically as it relates to our business and IoT and digital transformations, and how data has become the new currency. Specifically, going into and applying it to how it changes our business. Right? You talk to customers all the time, Joel, and they talk about their data centers and how it's changing their business, the
hmm
need for efficiency and speed. IDC had talked about this in a couple of papers that we published last year about how the core of the network and what we do is changing very significantly. Would be great to get your perspective on what exactly all that means.
Sure. It really actually boils down to how the industry's changed as a whole, not just with the enterprise space, but I mean, think about even for consumer products. I mean, I manage my sprinkler system with my cell phone. I've got an app on my cell phone that connects in wirelessly to my sprinkler system. I mean, everything now is a device in some capacity. And so that actually propagates to the enterprise as well. And so 10, 15 years ago, no one was worried about devices entering their network that they didn't have any direct control over. And now almost all infrastructure, almost all enterprise companies have that as an acute issue, whereby folks' cell phones and iPads and other small devices are now connecting into their corporate network and potentially bringing in threats and potential malware. It's a source of contention in some instances, but it's a growing list of A, problems and threats and challenges, but B, there's so many more devices to support. So it's extremely important nowadays that enterprises and IT managers can understand A, what's on their network first and foremost, and then B, actually be able to support that number of devices with the proliferation of IoT and end user computing.
So, Joel, we started launching into our perspective of the industry. We didn't tell everybody who we are. We
That would probably be helpful.
Why don't you start?
Way to go. Blame it on me. All right. So what we do at Infoblox is we provide DDI, which is DNS, DHCP, and IP address management. So that's core network services. And what's really unique about Infoblox is not only did we pioneer this space, and we are without question the market leader with a dominant player in this industry. However, what's most important is we keep pushing the limits and the thresholds of what this market actually is, and we're constantly redefining it. And so, 5, 7 years ago, it was really just protocol services. However, now, I mean, you see on the news on a regular basis. I mean, it's on front page of CNN almost, once or twice a month. There's a major DDoS attack, or there's some sort of a data exfiltration or data leak that occurs from a major organization, which has huge, huge, huge effects. I mean, it could be PCI credit card data, it could be schematics, it could be very sensitive data from our government agencies. No matter what the case, all these things are occurring, and almost all of them, not all, but almost all of them are actually occurring through DNS, which is our area of expertise. And that's something that we've developed some very compelling solutions around securing and containing and controlling, which no one else on the market does today. So it's kind of a unique space for us to be in that we've pioneered this enterprise grade DDI, which is effectively a way of managing your core network services in an automated, and easy to use fashion, instead of having to use Excel sheets and Microsoft and manually kind of trying to administer a very large environment. So we've made that efficient and streamlined that. Now we've really focused on securing that environment as well.
And Joel, you lead product management function for our core networking products that enable the next gen data center to become a reality, right? That's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm Prakash Nagpal, and I'm responsible for product marketing for our portfolio that Joel talked about. And one of the things that Joel has changed in our world is, while we talked about IoT and the IP address space, and you talked about DNS really being like the phone book of the internet that allows any device to connect to any network, um, is security has become an integral part of everything that is required. Um, how do customers articulate that to you, Joel, when you talk to them? What are the two or three things that they look for our solutions to provide to them?
I think that's a great question. I think it's actually the reverse, which is good and bad. But in general, our customers aren't articulating a problem. In general, our customers don't know the problem exists. And in fact, the market as a whole doesn't really know the problem exists until it's too late, which is frankly, it opens up a lot of fun opportunities for us. And so what I mean by that is we have these great demos, which I'd highly recommend folks work with their local sales representatives and stuff to actually have us deployed in your network. But we can actually do data exfiltration demos. Well, we'll instantiate an instance in your network and we'll actually exfiltrate data in your own network via DNS. And this creates absolute shock and awe. And I've had some very funny instances where we've done these demos. So one of the stories I like to use is I was at a very, very secure bank in the European Union. And I won't mention any names, but I've been to a lot of secure sites in my day, and oftentimes, they weigh you when you go in and you go out, and they do these very thorough and detailed background checks before they allow you access. But this place was actually the most secure I had ever been in, and they were unbelievable. It took us almost 2 hours just to get in the door. So we finally get in, we're doing this demo. I didn't speak the native tongue, and so there was some back and forth going on. And so we do this demo, and all of a sudden, a couple of very large men rush into the room after we've kind of penetrated their network and kind of showed them, hey, we can exfiltrate data. And we all kind of had this very shocked, uh-oh moment. Did we just get ourselves into some big trouble? Are we going to be in the news? And we figured it out, and it was all A-okay after that. But the net is most of these security teams or networking teams don't even know that they have this giant hole open. And when they can see literally in sub 10 minutes us pop open a giant hole and start shooting any kind of file you can imagine. I mean, it could be doc files, it could be executable files, anything you want, we can exfiltrate and infiltrate, so both directions. And we can actually show it to you in your own network. There's this giant hole that all of our customers, and frankly, not just our customers, most of our customers have plugged this hole with our products, but most of the enterprises out there have not looked at this as a key threat or as a key vector that they need to actually address. So it's actually kind of a fun position to be in, where we can actually educate our customers and our prospects and the market as a whole, and we're really innovating that space.
So they weighed you before you came in, they weighed you before you went out to make sure you didn't have any data on you, but they had this huge digital hole in their network. It's remarkable, isn't it, that companies continue to do that? And I've had similar experiences going and talking to companies, and what we call, Joel, you know this, we call it DNS security gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the network, the need for networking, IoT, and obviously everybody's moving to the cloud, whatever that means to them in their context, whether it's a virtualized environment or cloud environment, and security. What is Infoblox doing to make it easier for our customers to get all these products, right? Are we putting something together that's easier for them to buy? And
Definitely.
telling them, let me sell you one widget at a time.
Sure. So we have something in place called the core bundle. And so we as a company, just to give everyone a little history lesson, we kind of invented the DDI space. And so in the late 90s, our founder, Stu Bailey, really kind of looked at the market and said, there's nothing out there. And he was actually administering solutions that were doing DNS protocol services. He looked out there and said, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. This doesn't make any sense. It's terribly impractical. It's not automated. This just doesn't make sense, right? So he created this enterprise grade or commercial grade DDI solution. He integrated DNS with DHCP, and then he added IP address management to that, which kind of created this new paradigm, which we know today, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so he generated this standard for what DDI is and does. And so what we're now doing, and what we've really been focusing on in the last few years, our engineering resources, is we're actually changing the new standard for DDI because of all these threats that have come to fruition. So this core bundle we've put together is kind of our new standard for DDI. So in the past, it was DNS, DHCP, and IPAM. Now in the present, it's DNS, DHCP, IPAM, and security and optimization. And that's absolutely integral for all enterprises, small and large, to have these services deployed, because effectively you've got this wide open door to the World Wide Web. And so what we've done is we've taken 4 products, and we've taken a product called ActiveTrust, which is our security threat feed. software ADP, which is our advanced DNS protection solution, which prevents DDoS attacks from occurring in one's infrastructure. DTC, which is DNS traffic controller, and effectively what that is a very cool and unique load balancing solution. It's actually our fastest growing product. We've had a great amount of success with that product, and we have just unbelievable case studies with large customers like Hershey's and others who have moved off of F5 platforms and other large load balancing platforms and are now leveraging that. And then we also tie in our reporting and analytics solution, which is incredibly important. I mean, people have to know what's happening in their network infrastructure. If they're getting attacked, they need to see it. They need to be able to dive deep into it. They need to create automated reports to send out to their management team or to compliance auditors, internal or external, and so on and so forth. So we've put this package together, which we're calling the core bundle, and that's really the new standard for DDI, and that's really the minimal number of products we feel enterprises should have deployed. Now, we certainly have more, but we feel that's the core basis by which every enterprise company should really be moving forward.
So essentially, the purpose we are serving is enterprises are looking for an efficient and effective way to manage their network. They're looking for a way to protect their network. They're looking for a way to protect their data. And then they're looking for a way for all of this to work together more efficiently. And we've really made that so what you're saying is you put all that together and we're offering it as a bundle to the customer.
Absolutely.
That's great. So one of the things that I've heard changing too, Joel, is the way people purchase, right? What trends are you seeing? It used to be you bought a hunk of software or hunk of hardware and you paid for it one time, or you bought an appliance and put it in place. There's a couple of things that are happening. How people are deploying these solutions is changing, and how they're paying for it is changing. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing happening.
Sure. So it's not just with our customer base, but in the market as a whole, we've seen this abrupt shift from CapEx expenditures and from perpetual licensing to subscription licensing models. And so we're the first in the industry, in our industry, to really offer all of our services in this subscription-based model. But why it's so effective and why customers want this is it gives them the flexibility they need. And what flexibility means is it's not just financial flexibility, but if you deploy a service or an appliance, whether it's physical or virtual, you want the ability to, if you need to, turn on more capabilities. Should you so desire. And that's not necessarily adding new features to it, but it could be more capacity. So if you have a service deployed and you actually need more capacity from that device, if you need it to be more performant, customers want the ability to very quickly and easily make that device more performant with either a software license, so they can upgrade from one license to another, and all they have to do is pay that small amount difference between those two models. Or they want the ability to very inexpensively take decoupled hardware, which is usually less than a tenth of the cost of a perpetual piece of hardware that's tied to the software, and that allows them the freedom and the ability to move assets around or to grow as they need or shrink as they need as well too. Now, what's also handy about this is it allows them to, for us at least, it allows our customers the ability to run that appliance wherever they so desire. So let's say in 2018, they buy a physical appliance with that software license running on it. So again, and it's a subscription license. Let's say 6 months later, they actually want to move that asset to the cloud. It doesn't cost them a penny for them to do that. So at any point in time, if they go, you know what, for the next 3 or 4 years, we're probably going to need physical appliances, but our company motto or our goal is to move to 100% SaaS-based services and cloud-based services, move everything to the public cloud if that's their desire. In 3 or 4 years, they can convert those into cloud licenses, and we support more cloud platforms than any of our competitors. So we support Microsoft Azure, AWS, and we're in the process of deploying some betas as well for Google Cloud. You can move those into any of those cloud platforms, and again, at no cost to the customer. It's just part of your standard subscription. So what it allows customers to do is move and add and manage their environment in a very fluid manner based on their business needs, instead of it being a sales discussion of where you're going to be in the next 5 years, and you actually have to purchase equipment and plan 5 years out.
So while customers are looking for flexibility in their networks, they're looking for security in their networks, they're also looking for flexibility in how they deploy solutions, where they deploy them, whether it's a physical hardware appliance, virtual appliance, or deployed somewhere in the cloud, and how they buy differently, whether they want to pay for it up front and they pay for it. So in a lot of ways, Joel, the term I think that gets thrown around is the consumerization of IT.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Infoblox is in the midst of that revolution and that change. And so, Joel, we've taken up. I think we started with how the world is changing, how the networks are changing, how customer buying behavior is changing. Any parting thoughts to people that operate networks, people that are looking at these trends, on what would you say are the 2 to 3 things they should absolutely think about?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you really want to subscribe to a model that works for your business. I mean, at the end of the day, not just Infoblox, but any IT equipment that you purchase is really providing you a service, which then in turn you're providing to your organization as a service. And so you always hear about IT as a service organization more and more, and the IT space in general has changed dramatically. So what you really want to do first and foremost is look at the products, the company, and the services that you're signing up for, and making sure that they're actually going to meet and mesh with your business goals, and make sure that you have the flexibility that you're going to need over coming years as your business changes and as your requirements change. So I think that's absolutely important. Now, the second most important thing absolutely is always security. Now, that's a conversation I love and hate, right? Because it's almost like selling life insurance, right? I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but when you need it, boy, do you really need it, right? I mean, that's one of those things you do not want to skimp out on, and it's extremely important. Going to someone and saying, hey, watch out, your DNS is not secure and you really need to secure it, that's not a fun conversation. However, it's a much worse conversation to have our customers come to us and say, oh my gosh, my printer was misconfigured and it DDoSed our entire network internally, right? And that's actually happened, right? More than once, right? Oh my gosh, how do we prevent this from happening? Well, we have products for that. So it's not always malicious activities that bring networks down. And when you talk about security, it's not always malicious per se, right? Even internal or external. Sometimes it can be an IT administrator fat fingering a configuration, or a printer, as we've seen, gone haywire, and things of that nature can actually occur, which can create downtime within your organization, which is incredibly painful. I mean, it costs many organizations millions of dollars. I think the average a DDoS attack costs $1.5 million. And when you figure the average printer, enterprise printer, is what, $1,000 and $1,500? The ROI is not so great. So, I mean, I think you just really want to concentrate on making sure that you have those features and capabilities put in place. And one thing I want to really highlight with the offerings that we have and the solutions that we have is we really recognize that right now, in today's space, there's an overabundance of options and solutions and products out there. And frankly, there's way too many products out there. And when I talk to security practitioners, the number one thing I find is it's not oh my gosh, we don't have budget, or we're not interested in your solution. That's never the case. It's always a function of we cannot hire people fast enough, and we can't get enough people to even run all the systems that we have in place today. So buying new solutions and adding new solutions into our environment is almost improbable. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing that's pushing on IT today, is finding really skilled people who can actually manage and perform what they need to do with these new products is very difficult. Now, what we do with our products, and why our products, in my opinion, are so compelling, is they're really set and forget products. So both our virtualized ADP product, which prevents DDoS attacks, and our ActiveTrust product is really a product that you set up and configure, and it doesn't take very much time to do that. And then effectively you walk away. And you don't really have to worry too much about our advanced DNS protection product unless you get DDoS, in which case it'll alert you and tell you what's happening and what's going on. It'll service all the valid queries and make sure anyone who's trying to get access to your infrastructure or your external customer-facing websites and things along those lines still has access, and it doesn't affect their latency and ability to communicate with you. But all the bad traffic is being dropped seamlessly. And you, as the IT admin, you don't have to jump in and do anything while you're being DDoSed or anything along those lines. It's just a product that's out there protecting you. It's that effective shield that you don't have to really manage and maintain too much. And so that's incredibly important, is this is a set and forget solution. And the same goes with ActiveTrust. And what ActiveTrust is doing is it's effectively creating a screen around your infrastructure and not allowing any malicious activity to happen inside or outside of your network. So if you have malware deployed in your environment, or a command and control server, some malicious code trying to access command and control server, as those queries and responses come in and out, our net, if you will, that ActiveTrust feed is going to say, oh, wait a minute, these are not the right locations that you should go to. These are known malware sites, known command and control sites, and it'll actually drop those queries. So even if someone brings their iPhone or their personal laptop onto your network, you actually are still protected, because even though it may have some sort of infiltration or exfiltration solution on it, or it may have some sort of malware on it, it's actually not able to connect or contact its host in any way, shape, or form. And we even have a cloud-based solution of that called ActiveTrust Cloud, which enables you to actually install it on clients, so on your actual end users' clients. So as they're roaming, if they're in a Starbucks coffee shop, for example, they're still protected no matter where they are in the world, and they're still getting that screen of protection around their assets and around your assets.
So Joel, I like the fact that you keep it to threes and fives, right? Because most people can't retain more than 3 to 5 things. So the 3 things that I think you said were: one, make sure you prepare your network from its core to meet the needs of the next generation. Your transform your cloud, IoT, whatever it might be. Make sure you secure your network and don't ignore the one channel that might be ignored, DNS. And third is make sure that what your vendor provides you fits into what you have. Don't just add another thing that sits in a silo somewhere else. So on that note, with Thanksgiving coming up, well, thank you, Joel, for that informative session, and appreciate your time.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joel.